Hello, this is a problem involving a density function f(x) for a continuous random variable x, and it's given by f(x) is equal to c over x cubed for x is greater than 3, and then it's 0 elsewhere. So then the question is actually, what is the probability of x is equal or less than 4? So there's kind of two parts to the question. And the first part would be find c, so that you can do the second part, which is the probability that x is equal to or less than 4. So I find it easy for these kind of questions just to think of what the graph would look like. So we know that from 3 backwards it's 0, and then from greater than 3 onwards it follows this equation here with c over x cubed. Um, Another thing to note as well, that throughout minus infinity to plus infinity on this graph, it's going to be equal to 1. And it's quite helpful to note that from it that from 3 onwards, from greater than 3 onwards, that's that's the only thing we have to worry about equaling 1. So knowing all these things, then you're going to be able to solve for c based on the fact that the equation um, that was given at the start of the question, between the values of 3 and infinity, plus infinity should I say, is going to be equal to 1, because that's going to be 100% of the probability distribution. So then when we do integration on this, we're going to find that you're going to bring the x over to the other side. It's going to turn into minus 3 to the power of minus 3, and you're going to add 1 onto it, so it's going to turn to minus 2. You're going to divide by minus 2, and then you're going to bring the minus 2 back to the other side of the denominator where it started off, and it's going to turn to x squared. So then we get this down here. It's still going to be equal to 1. And then we're going to sub in our values for infinity and 3. So infinity, if you were even if you just think about it, if you put 10 into x here, you're going to get a small number. If you put 100 in, it's going to be even smaller. If you put 1,000 in, it's going to be even smaller. If you put infinity in, it's going to be basically equal to 0. So we're going to put in 0 for substituting infinity. And then we're going to take away subbing in for 3, and then we're going to let that equal to 1. So when we sub in 3 for x, and we're going to square it, so it's going to turn into 9, and then multiply it by 2, it's going to turn to 18, and then the two minus signs cancel out. So we have c over 18 is equal to 1, c is equal to 18. So for this part of the question, we're going to have to understand then that the equation only starts being used at x is greater than 3. So for the boundaries, we're going to have 4, which is asked, and then 3, which is the start of using this equation here. So the integral of between 4 and 3 using this equation is going to be the probability of x is less than or equal to 4, because once it gets less than 3, it doesn't really affect the probability, because it's just going to be 0. So then when we do the integration the same as last time, we're going to have this over here, minus 9 over x squared. We're going to sub in 4, and then we're going to subtract subbing in 3. We're going to have 9 over 4 squared minus 9 over 3 squared. So then on the left it's going to equal to minus 9 over 16, and because on the right hand side we have 9 divided by 3 squared, which is 9 over 9, and the two minuses turn to a plus, we have plus 1. So then I'm going to bring this up here just for the visual. So that's going to turn into 16 over 16, take away 9 over 16, which is equal to 7 over 16. So 7 over 16 is the probability that, that x is less than or equal to 4.